Hello and welcome to the presentation of Evaluation Question 1. In what ways does media product develop or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? When creating my regional listings magazine, I wanted to create something generic and recognisable for my target audience. I wanted to keep the typical conventions of a magazine but incorporate my own style in terms of colours, fonts, layouts, etc. It was important I kept the generic conventions because I wanted my target audience to feel familiar with how the magazine is set out, so they know this is a regional magazine which has a professional look to it. This hopefully attracts a large target audience. For my front cover, I followed the typical conventions in terms of having a masthead and a main cover image. The main cover image consists of posed photography of a young-looking model so that it links with my target audience of young people. However, by editing the image to create this colour splash effect of the red, this could be going against typical regional magazine conventions because this technique isn't commonly used in most regional magazines. As you can see, this issue of Exposed, the way the model is looking away from the camera is like how my main image is. So they have similar mise-en-scène, but the image is edited to black and white, whereas I leave the colour red exposed. I think this, along with the graffiti backdrop, creates a rather artistic effect of the magazine, representing the city of Sheffield as having a strong art culture. I think by representing the culture of Sheffield in an artistic way, this conforms typical conventions of some regional listings magazines such as this issue of Exposed. Furthermore, by placing the model in front of a wall of graffiti, this further suggests the magazine is aimed at younger audiences, because graffiti art is often associated with modern youth culture. By only highlighting the red colour of the graffiti and the model's jacket, and having the model seem isolated with the black and white effect, this represents the cover model as their ideal self, because they look rather mysterious due to the blank facial expression, but also as if they belong in society due to the typical modern youth clothing, and fashion, self-appearance is a top priority for most teenagers today. This issue of Exposed does something similar with their cover model, because they are looking away from the camera with a blank facial expression, wearing typical youth clothing, representing them as the ideal self to the typical teen. I believe by creating this effect, young people will be attracted to the magazine. I tried to go for something similar to the magazine Now Then in terms of my masthead. The masthead is positioned in the lower right hand side of the cover page, whereas the masthead is usually placed in the top third of the page, which goes against the typical conventions of a magazine, as the masthead of Exposed is a spread across the top of the page, which is a common use of layout of a magazine. However, although the masthead is unconventional, I have still included a date line which is positioned below the masthead and have included a single cover line which is placed vertically on the edge of the page. I think my magazine is generic in terms of the content I have included, which links with my subgenre of entertainment and is suitable for young people, especially students. Some of my content mentioned in the contents page is aimed specifically at students, such as the budget shopping articles and entertainment establishers in the city, for those who may not be familiar with Sheffield. The layout of the page follows a conventional contents page. I decided to split the page into 3 columns with images on the first third, page numbers linking the images to the content in the middle third, and an editor's message in the final third, which is commonly found on the contents page. This example of Exposed magazine does something similar with its contents page. The main 3 images have page numbers at the top right hand corner telling the reader where to go to find this article. The page numbers also link with the featured articles listed on the first column of the page and acts as a navigational guide of the magazine. Furthermore, my images are conventional of a regional listings magazine because my images are related to citizens and locations of the city, similar to that of Exposed as their images represent the culture of Sheffield. In addition, I have included young-looking models to best suit my target audience of young adults and represent the city as having lots of urban culture. The images of the Leadmill, the Odeon and Bramall Lane all link with the idea of modern youth culture and entertainment. I thought about the idea of Comfortable Reassurance by Patrick Phillips when taking the photography for my contents page, as I wanted images which related to Sheffield culture to ensure the reader knows what to expect from my magazine. They will instantly know that this is a regional listings magazine because the conventions are most typical to that of a regional listings magazine. I think by having an image cover the background of the page challenges the conventional contents page, as most magazines have a plain white or sometimes black page to make the text easily readable, similar to this of Exposed. However, I thought by having another colour splash effect image for the background, this would make the magazine unique and artistic, but also link further to Sheffield and represent the city in an artistic way, which I think is what my cover page also manages to achieve. It is conventional of a magazine that the word Contents is positioned at the top of the page, as both my magazine and Expose have done here. I also included the date line positioned vertically next to the contents title to follow the typical conventions of including the date line on both the cover and contents of a magazine, but isn't entirely necessary as Expose include their date line on their contents page. Similar to Exposed, I have also included a contact section positioned at the bottom of the page, which gives details of the magazine's telephone number, website address, and social media information. It is conventional to give these details to the reader if companies or readers ever want to contact the magazine. The fact they have included social media information like Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook further appeals to my target audience who often use social media throughout their daily lives. A typical advert seen in a regional listings magazine is an advert which relates to the city or area the magazine's target audience is. For example, similar to my magazine, Exposed is a magazine aimed at the people of Sheffield, which is why most of the adverts relate to locations and products found in the city. Here, Exposed advertise information for events at the Owleton Stadium and information for Napoleon's restaurant. It is typical for an advert to contain contact details and possibly social media information so the reader knows how to get in touch with the company. I wanted my adverts to fit with the theme and house style of my magazine with the red, white and black colours, and also include the colour splash style photography I have included on my cover and contents page. For my adverts, I went for a minimalistic approach with my trainer advert but included as much information as possible with my Leadmill advert. As my magazine is aimed at a young adult audience, fashion is a high priority for people of this age group, which is why I decided to advertise a shoe product, which is available to purchase at the city's main shopping centre, Meadowhall. I tried to make the advert look visually appealing to a younger audience by having shadows around the trainer to isolate the trainer in a dark space, which highlights and exposes the white colours on the product much more. The information given about where to find this product is very brief and to the point, which is what I intended as it fits with a minimalistic style to further appeal to a younger audience. The Meadowhall logo, along with my magazine's logo, is a white colour which creates consistency with the magazine's house style and keeps the black and white theme of the magazine. I also decided to advertise the infamous Leadmill venue found in the Sheffield city centre, which relates to youth culture, as the venue offers music and comedy events which are popular with a young target audience, which makes this a perfect venue to advertise for my magazine. For my advert of the Leadmill, I included the main image as having this colour splash photography effect, which I thought looked really nice for the exterior of the Leadmill, as it exposes these bright red neon lights, which look quite cool and again fits with the house style of my magazine with the red and black colours. Even with the text and social media logos as well. To ensure the information on the advert looked organised, I placed location and pricing information on the first 2/3 of the page and the social media information on the end third. The advert gives information of events which can be seen at this venue and includes a rhetorical question to create direct address with the reader, as if the advert is aimed directly at them, which hopefully engages and appeals to the reader. To appeal to a young target audience, I included social media information for the Leadmill across a range of social media sites like Facebook, Snapchat and Twitter, as most users of social media consist of a younger age range. Overall, I believe I have followed the typical conventions of a typical regional listings magazine, but also achieved an artistic approach with some of my photography, especially for my cover page, which creates a less generic cover page for a magazine. I think my magazine pages create consistency throughout, in terms of fonts and colours used, and successfully appeals to a young adult target audience.